And we are live. JT here. Welcome to The Huddle. The Huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I just want to take a moment to welcome you, whether you are joining us live as we stream into our Facebook community, whether you are watching the recording on YouTube or on Facebook, whether you are listening to the audio on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me and my special guest today. And here's my reminder to you. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's wide open. And my challenge to you today is to keep your mind wide open. And I guarantee you, you will gain a valuable nugget of wisdom that will most importantly help you succeed at the game of life. I've been looking forward to my conversation with my special guest today. We got connected over social media a few months ago, and I've just really been watching, observing, been loving his consistency, his messaging, and just really his desire to serve others. My guest in the huddle today is a coach, he's a speaker, but more importantly, an amazing human being. My guest in the huddle today is Coach Kurt Hines. How are you today, Coach?
JT, I'm blessed. I appreciate you having me on. As you and I talked briefly before going live, you know, I like you. I just love meeting new people. You have an energy. For your viewers and your listeners that already know you, this is our first time really talking face to face, if you will,
yeah,
via Zoom. And you just light up a room, man. So I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Coach. I received that. Coach, one of the things that I often remind myself is the importance of counting your blessings. And I know that resonates with you because I saw your post last week. And why that's important to me is I'm a firm believer that our time and energy is the most important resource that we have. So I just feel so blessed that you're spending some of your time and energy into being here with me and our community today, especially during the holiday season. So again, Coach, feeling so grateful and blessed and really enthused for our conversation.
Likewise, the blessings go both ways. So appreciate you.
Definitely. So, Coach, one of the things that I often like to remind myself and others is that life is a game and games are supposed to be fun. So I'm curious, what is an interesting fact? I had a coaching colleague that sometimes referred to this as our quirk, that maybe a lot of people don't know about you, that you would be open to sharing with our community.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things a lot of people that maybe, you know, follow me or that don't know me personally, you know, outside of social media, is they may not know that I love painting murals. I've been blessed to, I painted murals for years now, and I've done indoor murals, outdoor murals, ceilings, walls. The largest mural I've ever done was a 500 square foot mural in a private home in New Hampshire, Arizona Red Rocks. And just, I love as much as my world is, you know, for me, it is faith, family, and football. And the family part includes a lot of friends I've been blessed with. But a huge part of my joy for life comes in knowing that all of us are well-rounded. We may not always realize the blessings and talents we have, but I think in the world of football in particular, where it's so, I love it. I love everything about football, but it's overpopulated with the Neanderthal, dumb jock attitude of, you know, you got to be big and tough and mean, and you know that helps sometimes in the actual games. But I love when our players see that they have a coach that teaches fourth grade, paints murals, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I think a lot of people, to answer your question, wouldn't know that I paint murals and have a love for the art.
Well, and it's interesting, and what I really heard from you was the importance of understanding who you are. And I know that that's a little cliche at times, but I think being open to exploring all your gifts, your talents and abilities and celebrating them, right? And understanding that you can have interests that go outside of whatever the stereotype is. That's what I really heard.
Absolutely. I think way too many people, I'm talking about our youth to most of our family and friends and adults, if we sit down with people one-on-one and say, tell me about you, who you are, and I'm guilty of this myself, I think way too many of us go to our profession right away or our title as it involves other people, husband, wife, father, and those are all important. And those are all things that make us part of who we are. But to get to the heart of the person, to get to really who we are, when we strip ourselves of our titles, of our possessions, that's when we really start to see just the joy and beauty in life.
I love that, brother. I love it. And what I'm hearing from you is the power of I am, right? Understanding who I am. So I know that's stuff that we're probably going to go dive a little bit deeper in. So Coach, I'm curious, you've obviously created some success. Sport has played an important role. It still is playing an important role for you in your life. So I'm curious, what is the biggest takeaway, the lesson that you've taken from sport that you still find yourself applying to your life today?
That it's about people. Yeah. That if you want to have lasting success in sports as a coach, sorry, my ring was on a little back in black. That it's about people. That I've always said, I met with a young woman and her mother just about half an hour before we hopped on here that wants to join our football team, and had a great conversation about them, and shared with the mother, she had some reservations. Her daughter's a smaller person, and we had a great conversation. But she said, I don't want her to lose her identity if she joins the football team that is male dominated. And it's a great valid point and concern. And I shared with her that, my opinion is we win championship after championship after championship, and that's all we do is win on the field, then I am failing as a coach. I was able to tell, this young woman and her mother that my job, my calling, my blessing as a coach my desire is to be a blessing to others, to empower others. So I think it's true in sports, it's true in life, that if we focus our energies on people, not possessions, not titles, not things, the playbook I'm working on here, I'm revamping our playbook this offseason. One of my goals for myself. It's important. You need to know your trade, whatever it is you do. But if you lose sight of why we're doing it, who we're doing it for, at the end of our days, we're going to look back with a lot of regrets, I believe. So it's people for me.
Coach, and what I'm hearing from you is that old, Woody Hayes title of his book, You Win with People. Right. Yeah. Or some paraphrase. And so I'm curious, one of the things you mentioned was, and I really get a sense here that whether it's football, whether it's the classroom, whether it's when you go live on social, it really is about using that platform as an opportunity, like you said, to empower people, right? To help them be, as cliche as it is, the best versions of themselves. So I'm curious, was there a moment where you really started to understand that it's really about people and it's about serving their hearts?
Gosh, great question. I don't think so for me. Okay. I don't think it was one moment in my coaching career, and that really isn't because I'm so deep and centered as, I feel like I am sometimes. I've been blessed, JT, I can look back in my life from my parents to aunts and uncles and teachers and coaches that have always poured into me and have always modeled for me the importance of people. I love my father. Well, I love both my parents. But to this day, one of the greatest human beings I've ever met was my Uncle Bernie, born and raised in Mexico, one of 11 children. His father passed away when he was really young, so he had to step into that father role, if you will. And he was always just a God-loving, God-fearing, blue-collar, humble human being that the biggest thing I remember about him was he just genuinely cared about people. I would see him at family gatherings, whether he was talking to myself, a brother or sister, anyone, and it just seemed like he was so deeply connected in the moment to that conversation he was having. And I remember thinking, like, I want to be like that. Like I think way too many of us are talking to people, and as we're talking, I'm listening, and they're playing with their phone or whatever, and I'm guilty of that as well. I need to do better, at really being where my feet are and being present. But I've been blessed. I think I've always known it's about people. Have I always put people first? Probably not. Do I need to do a better job at it? Absolutely. But that's what drives me and motivates me and gets me through those 2-5 or 2-7 seasons, or those 5-5 seasons. And, you know, if you're coaching just to win games, you're going to have a very miserable and sad career, or short career. I mean, if you're doing it to connect with and empower people, that's going to get you through those dry years, so to speak, as far as the wins and losses go.
Yeah, no, and I love, again, Coach, how, you know, I can just feel your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion for and love of people. And what I really heard from you were two things. One was really, you have this ability to be objective with yourself. Like, you understand, hey, growth is a lifelong process. There's ebbs and flows. And do I do it it's sort of what I often sort of stress to people as like, embrace imperfection, release the illusion of perfection.
Yeah.
And so I really get a sense there that you realize, like, you strive and aspire to be more, to serve more, but you understand that it's by focusing on the here and now.
Yeah. Amen.
The other thing I really caught from you, Coach, was, again, one of that. I firmly believe that this is one of our fundamental needs and wants as human beings. And I just think from my own life is everyone wants to feel seen, everyone wants to feel heard, and everyone wants to feel appreciated. And people can feel that. I'm a firm believer. Intuition, they can feel whether you're locked and loaded on them, or whether you're kind of multitasking. And like you said, I'm guilty of it at times too, but that's the ebbs and flows of life, right? It's these reminders.
Yeah. You know, it's funny too, JT, because that reminds me, often people will find out I teach elementary school. I've always taught 1st through 4th grade, regular classroom, to kind of teach a little bit of all the subjects. And people have often asked me, you know, how do you go from that world of being an elementary school teacher to a high school football coach? And for me, those two worlds are not opposite, because of what you just said. People want to know their value. They want to know they make a difference. When they walk into a room, I think we all do this, whether we are very insecure and shy and our heads kind of down and we're looking around, or we're overconfident, or anything in between. I think we all walk into a room and we want to know that we're making a difference. We don't all want to be in charge. We don't all want to be the leader. And I think the great strength comes in not comparing ourselves to others and say, hey, how do I fit in compared to everyone else? But knowing that I make a difference. I walk into a room and I'm valued and needed. And I think the sad reality is way too many people don't feel that to their core. And I don't blame them. I don't blame the loved ones or the people around them. But I think if people like you can put yourselves out there and do podcasts that bring light and joy and peace to others, man, that's what it's all about. That's what excites me. You know, when I post something on Twitter, it might resonate with one person or a million people. But man, if it resonates with one person and it makes them better, it brings them joy, or gets them to a point where they were, and I'm going to use extremes here, just having a bad day and it makes them smile, or were suicidal and thought, man, there's no reason to exist anymore. I've been blessed to receive private messages, as I'm sure you have as well, or if you haven't yet, I know you will, from people I've never met that say, man, I really needed that message today, like at that moment. And I used to, and I'm not proud of this, I'm not proud to admit this, I used to years ago when I was doing a little selfie video, think to myself, well, let's get a lot of likes. And I thought, man, really? Like that's how insecure I am, you know? And now I've gotten to the point, and it's a process, where I'm like, when I say I don't care, I do care, but I don't care how many likes it gets, because I believe if I'm posting it, my prayer to God is, hey, if I have a message to share, put it on my heart. Please put it on my heart and let me share it in a way that's going to bless someone. And now when I post a video, I really don't care how many likes or retweets it gets. I just hope and pray that it reaches one person or more.
And it's interesting, Coach, like, you know, what I'm hearing from you is, again, it's detaching from the external outcome, right? That's what I really heard from you. It's detaching from how many likes am I getting, how many shares. Like, you're just speaking from your heart. Like, as I often say, you just want to serve the hearts of others, whether it helps one, whether it helps 1,000, whether it helps 1,000,000 people. And it's interesting when you come from that place of service and that vibration, and you're just all about wanting to help others. It's interesting how it just cuts through the noise and it finds the people that need to hear those messages.
Yeah, it's like when you give a gift to someone, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you may celebrate, birthday, whatever it is. If you're giving that gift and you're giving it because you want something in return, you've missed the point of giving a gift. If you give it just because you love that person. And I saw a coworker, this woman, Amy, I just think the world of, she's amazing. She posted something on Instagram earlier today, and I'm going to not do it justice. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was a little meme that said something like, stop saying to others, hey, here's a little gift. It's not that big of a deal. And it went on to say, if you care enough about me to give me a little gift, whether it's store-bought, handmade, just the thought that you were thinking about me is enough. And it goes back to what you had said about people want to know that they are valued, that they make a difference, that they're thought of.
So I'm curious, Coach, like you mentioned, this has been a process, right? And one of the things that I love about what you're sharing is your consistency is next level. Like I like whenever I go on social, and I do my best to keep it intentional, but I always see that there's a consistent message there. It's coming from a place of love, joy and peace, and really wanting to bless others. I'm curious, what was your inspiration to start sharing and using social media as a tool to spread a greater message?
Great question, and another answer I'm not proud of. So years ago, gosh, I don't know how long I've been posting videos, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was. I had tweeted something out, and someone had just cut and pasted it, didn't retweet it, didn't give credit where credit's due, and just cut and pasted it and stole it, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And I'm not proud of the fact that I was a little bothered by that. Shame on me for being bothered by it. If they liked enough to share it, whether they gave credit or not, that's where my heart should have been.
Yeah.
So the first time I thought about doing a video, I thought, hey, they can't just steal that. Now they can do their own video. They can share the exact same message, but I'm going to put my face, and it's not making me any money, my face. So, but I decided to do a video out there. And it's funny because I won't say this gentleman's name, but I had a gentleman, I've still yet to meet him face to face, but he messaged me about 2 or 3 years ago on Twitter, private message, and said, he was very complimentary, saying, I love what you do. I want to start doing videos also. What are your suggestions? And it's interesting when someone you've never met asks you for suggestions, it's humbling. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I don't want to misguide him because I don't know what makes him tick. I don't know what lights him on fire. And I remember saying to him something to the effect of, thanking him, but just saying, be yourself. Just be yourself. And this gentleman, I once again won't say his name. It seems like he puts out a video a day. And I love it because some of them I'm like, yes, that's a great message. Some of them I'm like, it didn't really touch me, which is irrelevant. But you can see the joy. I can see the joy in his eyes when he shares it. So I'm like, man, that's what it's about. I think if we can live our lives in a way that is authentic to who we are, not living a lie, trying to be someone we're not. If we can live our lives authentically to who we are and inspire others to be who they are, that's a gift.
It's interesting that, what I'm really hearing and feeling from you is again, that simple idea of be yourself, which consciously, I think anyone watching this, anyone listening to this, they're into personal growth and self-development. Like they understand that consciously, but it's something that I think we don't always understand. But why I love that is it's a lifelong process. And I know we've touched on that a number of times, but it's interesting that when you be yourself, you give other people permission to be themselves, which again is so freeing that to me is what lights the world up is when we have more people that are truly being themselves.
Yeah. I remember reading a quote years ago that you just reminded me of. I'm paraphrasing, but it said something to the effect of, while climbing the ladder of success, make sure it's not against the wrong wall or something to that effect. Yeah. And as a football coach, I'm a Cowboys fan, but whether it's Bill Belichick or Nick Saban or, you Dabo Sweeney, I can learn certain things from those coaches that are at the top of their game. But I think way too many coaches, I'm sure it happens in all fields or many fields, try to emulate and be like that coach. They listen to how they speak, they watch how they dress, how they talk. And that's a disservice not just to myself and my loved ones, but those I'm blessed to coach. I think I've had coaches, assistant coaches, apologize to me privately before that will come in after a practice and say, hey, coach, I'm so soft spoken. Sorry, like you bring so much energy and stuff. And I'm like, hey, listen, there only needs to be one me.
Yeah.
We don't want two of me. And I'm not that special. We don't want two of you. Like, imagine if every coach and every team was always amped up and excited, and that'd be overwhelming. And we have young men and young women on our teams who are quiet and reserved. And they might love me as a coach, but they might hear and learn and achieve so much more from a coach on our staff that's always just barely whispering and just speaking in a different way. So yeah, I think there's so much joy and beauty in being who we are, who we've been created to be. And so often in life, we don't find out who we've been created to be until we strip ourselves of expectations of others or ourselves.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Like what I'm hearing from you again is that really, if you strip that away, it's having the calm and confidence to truly express who you are, what makes you unique, right? And when you do that, it's funny that you become more comfortable filling in, bringing other people on board with the vision that maybe have other strengths that maybe you don't have, which is again, that's a strong and powerful team.
Yes. Well, it's funny. I'm blessed to be able to. I'm speaking at 2 Glacier clinics in February, I believe, up in LA, and one of them is on the power of why, and one of them is I forget the exact title, but on hiring, supporting, and empowering assistant coaches. And it's funny because I think that average coaches want to hire people who aren't as smart as them because they feel intimidated. If I bring someone else into our program and the young men hear him speak, man, he's going to look smarter than me. I think good coaches want to hire people on the same level. And I think great coaches, I think one of the things that makes me a great coach is I know I don't have all the answers. I never have, never will. And I'm humble enough now, I haven't always been, but where I want to hire the greatest coaches I can, not just so they can bring a whole new level of success to our football program, but so I can learn from them because I don't have all the answers. And I think the moment that any of us find a doctor, a teacher, a coach, a pastor, a priest, a mentor that says, I have all the answers, we need to leave that conversation, leave that room right away because none of us do.
Yeah. No, again, great reminder. So coach, I'm curious, like, as you're sharing, I thought about, I was just inspired by this. What was actually the point where I first, became aware of the work you're doing? And it was this one video where you posted about a athlete who chose that football just wasn't their path anymore.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I just felt like, one, this is different because we don't always talk about athletes not wanting to, be part of the team. But two, I love how you really flipped it, like that law of polarity. And you said, I'm just, and I apologize but what I really got from it was you celebrated the fact that he was choosing his own path, that he was going along his journey. So I'm curious, what was that experience like? How has that sort of formed, your journey since that one experience?
Yeah, so 2 thoughts come to mind. One was when I mentioned a few minutes back, that I used to think to myself, how many likes will this get? I'm so thankful that I've matured out of that because when this happened, the young man came into my office, into our coach's office, about 15 minutes before practice. I had coached him for 2 years. His older brother played for us. And last year during the COVID season, which was a shortened season, and this previous year prior to the video, never saw him happy. He'd come late to most practices, wouldn't be prepared, wouldn't have all his stuff. And he's not a dumb kid. I just knew there was something going on. And whenever I would check in with him and be like, hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm good, coach. You need to talk? No, coach. So I was always trying. I was trying to reach out to him. And I knew there was a wall there. So when he came in one day, I always tell the players, I'm like, listen, football's not for everyone. It's not. But when you quit, please don't lie to yourself and don't lie to me. And don't say it's because of academics. And I always tell them this because
Yeah.
no one goes home at 4 o'clock and does homework till 10.
Yeah.
You know, that's a cop out. And I think most student athletes do better when they're playing a sport because they have more scheduled time and less time to just fool around. So he came in the right way. He came in with his stuff washed. And I looked at him. I said, why are you quitting? And he goes, Coach, he hummed and hawed. He said, you know, we've always been a football family. My dad loves football. And I'll make this quick because I know you saw the video. But he said, my dad loves football. My mom loves football. Obviously, he mentioned his brother. I said, but do you love football? He looks at me. He looks up the ceiling a little bit. And he goes, no. And I said, I'm proud of you. And I saw his whole countenance change. Literally, I saw this go to this. And just the tension just leave him. I said, hey, give him a minute. I said, and I looked at the clock. I was like, I got to go out to practice in about 10 minutes. Let's just sit down and talk for a minute. So it was great to just hear him just and see his change, the change in his countenance. And as we spoke, I saw him become happier and happier and happier. And literally his face went from near tears when he first walked into the office to just elated smiling. And I said, do you mind if I share this? And he goes, no, coach. He goes, I thought you were really mad at me. And for a split second, I thought, dang, shame on me for having him think, not on him, but shame on me. I said, no. I said, you're living your life. Go out there and be great. And if you ever need me for anything, let me know. I gave him a hug, told him I love him. Did a video. But the other thing that kind of happened was because I've matured out of that, hey, how many people will like this? With his permission, and I didn't mention his name, I shared that video and boom, threw my phone in my pocket, went out to practice. Didn't think at all. And literally after a 2-hour practice, whatever it was, came back to the office. I don't remember exactly when I looked at my phone again, but it had gone viral. You know, it just, it's funny though, the world we live in, it went viral and 95% was positive. But there were some people who only read the caption, and I don't remember exactly what I titled it to the video, and said, you should be fired. Shame on you for being happy a player quit. And I'm like, no, you didn't watch the video. Like, please watch the video. But it's a powerful reminder to me that we just need to share what's on our heart. Because I was, and I still am so happy for him and proud of him for not living his life because of someone else's expectations or standards. He finally had the courage, and that's my biggest takeaway from this young man. He had the courage to say, this isn't for me. Hey, we're a football family, but I'm not a football guy. It's not for me. And I think most people, I really do believe a majority of people go through lives trying to live someone else's goals for them, as opposed to just living their own.
Coach, I love that story. One, you just painted like a beautiful picture, and I felt like I could just picture like being in that office with the two of you and just seeing kind of the weight of the world kind of being released off of them. And it was interesting. Like, I love what you shared. Like, you just told me, I'm proud of you, right? Like, just like how we still, like, even I think as a dad now, like I do my best to remind my kids, like, I love you, I'm proud of you. Like, just those simple words, how impactful they can be.
Yeah.
And you know what else really, really spoke to me there, Coach, was how, you know, with him, that how much of that weight was just playing the should I or shouldn't I game, right? Like, it was sort of like, should I play football? Should I not? Should I? And it really reminded me of one of the things that I feel we need to empower young people with is the power of decision making, to truly get clarity around what type of life you want to live. You may not know the answer, and that's cool, but what direction do you want to head? And then make decisions that are aligned with your values and where you want to go, right? And it just, that's what really came up for me, was, again, the simple words of I'm proud of you and the power of decision making.
Yeah, and another thing that I want to share also, and I appreciate that, is there were some people, and I'm not saying I'm right, but this is my heart, my opinion. Some people who said, you failed as a coach, you taught him quitting was okay. And I thought about that, and it really rested me, like, my gosh, did I do him a disservice? I was like, wait, no, wait a minute. I dated, not a bunch, but I dated a fair number of young women before I met my wife. I quit those relationships. At a certain point, either they said, hey, this isn't working out for me, or I said, hey, this isn't working out for me. And I moved on to something else. And because of that, I was able to meet my wife. There are a number of jobs I've had over the years, and the jobs that I've walked away from and quit, I did the right way. I waited till the season was over, the school year was over, or whatever. And there's a right way to do it. But I think that the world says, hey, no quitting, and quitting's for losers. No, quitting's a change of direction. Quitting's saying, hey, listen, this used to light me on fire. I've lost my passion for it. I'm moving on. Or I thought this is what I wanted, but you know what? I don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I want to be in the arts or whatever it is. And I think that when we make blanket statements of quitting's for losers, and gosh, if you look at the most successful people, however we define success, the happiest people, probably a lot of them have started and then stopped certain things in their lives, whether it's relationships or business plans. And I think there's a lot of beauty in just, owning who we are.
You know, Coach, what I'm hearing from you is, again, that law of substitution. What if you have to release something of lesser value to bring more abundance, prosperity, wealth, riches, greatness into your life, right? And that's really what came up for me when you shared that. So, Coach, I'm curious, you know, we're living in an interesting time right now, right? I feel right now you really do see that the law of polarity really in action, right? That there are two sides on, you know, any issue seems very polarizing right now. So I'm curious from you, what can someone do right now in order to be able to bring that clarity to be able to show up authentically as themselves in a world that you feel is telling you to choose sides? What I know that's a big overarching question, but I'm just curious. You work with young people. What is something that people can do?
I think one of the greatest things we can do in today's day and age is not just surround ourselves with like-minded people. I think there's power in that. I think there's beauty in surrounding ourselves, whether it's a church community or a workout group or whatever it is. But I also think that there's danger in only hanging out with people that look like we do, act like we do, think like we do. You know, the pro-mask, anti-mask, the pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine. It doesn't have to be black or white. There can be opposing views, but there's a lot of gray in between. And I think that if we allow ourselves to learn from others, there's a lot of power in that. Kind of along with your question also, I think there are so many people I meet that say, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what lights me on fire. I don't know where I want to be tomorrow, let alone 5 or 10 years from now. What do I do? And I think some of the best advice I can give them is to find people that are excited about life. Find people that are passionate about life and spend time with them. And find out what makes them tick. Find out, you know, what gets them out of bed in the morning, because that's, you know, it's funny. I think so many high school students have this pressure on them with the best of intentions. And I know I did it too, probably. I think my kids would laugh and say, Dad, you did it. You did not, probably. But I think that we expect our high school freshmen, sophomores, yeah, you're figuring things out. Junior, senior, gosh, you're a senior. Probably every senior in America gets asked by aunts, uncles, parents, coaches, teachers, what are your plans? What are you doing? What are you doing in college? And there's that overwhelming, my gosh, I'm 18. I have to have my life figured out. And I think if you talk to most 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, most of them don't have it figured out yet. And most of them don't know what they want to do when they quote unquote grow up, you know? And I consider myself one of the really, I won't say lucky, but blessed ones where I love what I do. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love this. I mean, you thanked me earlier and I return that thank you. But meeting people like you, man, there are so many people in life who punch that clock, go into work 9 to 5, you know, live for the weekends. But man, Monday through Friday, they're just like in the doldrums, just miserably head down going through life. Have a glimpse of, hey, it's the weekend, I'm happy, and back to the doldrums. And I think, man, that's a sad way to live our lives.
You know, it's interesting, like as you share that, and what came up for me as you talked about was, you know, surrounding yourself with people of, you know, that there is beauty and diversity, inclusiveness, right? And just surrounding ourselves with different thoughts, right? Different backgrounds, different lived experiences. Like there is a beauty there. I have come to learn how much that sort of was formed in my environment growing up in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. But the one thing I really heard from you was asking questions from a place of curiosity. And why that resonates with me is I think it's so easy to ask questions from a place of judgment, but there really is power when you're just like, I want to know, yeah, why do you think the way that, why do you believe it should be this way? And then just coming with that open mind, that open parachute.
Yeah, we all, once again, nothing I'm guilty of.
Yeah.
I can see over my life, I've gotten better at it. But I think way too many of us ask questions with a rebuttal or an answer already in our minds, not just to learn. You know, and there's so much beauty when we ask a question with the sole intent of learning from another human being, not with, all right, hey, finish up with your answer, because I have an answer to that. I want to tell you why you're wrong. And that's, it's just, it looks where, I mean, as a society worldwide, I think there's so much of that anger, you know, how dare you have a different opinion of me? You know, you're wrong, and here's why I don't like you. And I think, man, that's not what it's about. We're missing the point.
Yeah. It's interesting. And as you share, what popped into my mind is the Nelson Mandela quote, which is one of my favorite ones. I never lose. I either win or I learn.
Yeah.
And that just always reminds me on the power of being objective.
Yeah. Well, and I also too, you know, so I do a thing with my fourth graders called Quote of the Day, where I put the quote on the board, excuse me, and I tell them there's no wrong answer. It's just, you have to, they have a little journal. I say, copy the quote down and then write a reflection. What does it mean to you? And I said, it's impossible to have a wrong answer. It's what does it mean to you? And then I have them share them if they feel comfortable and they want to share them. But one of my favorite quotes from Gandhi is something to the effect of, I like your Christ, but I do not like your Christians. Your Christians are so unlike your Christ. And I thought, man, how often do we, because of our religious or spiritual or political or whatever beliefs, act in a way that if we really look back is polar opposite of really what we're preaching to love and to do.
Oh, it's a great reminder. Huh. So, Coach, I'm curious, you know, thinking, I know we're, depending on when people are watching this or listening to this, right? We're approaching, you know, the start of a new year. I'm curious, your vision, it obviously seems like you have a big vision of truly wanting to impact and help and serve more people. What would 10xing your current vision, what would that look like to you?
I'm sorry, what would?
Yeah, so let's say we 10x, like you, the amount of people you could help and serve, like what would that look like to you?
You know, it's funny. There was a woman I worked with back in New Hampshire years ago who shared a book with me called, I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Called The Prayer of Jabez. And the whole essence is that he just prayed that his influence would grow larger. And he wanted to have greater success, and he wanted to have greater this, and this. But the whole core of his prayer was he wanted to have God enlarge his territory for the benefit of others. So for me, and this might be a very lackluster answer to your question, it looks no different. It looks no different because my goal, if I can bless one life, then my life was not a waste. You know, if that can be 10x and I can bless 10 lives or, you know, 100 lives, I feel like God has opened that door for me, and I just need to keep going through that door and not allow those self demoralizing. I think we all have certain things, you know, our inner voice that hold us back. There was a book I read years ago that talked about ego. And I used to always, especially in the world of football, thought ego was that arrogant, cocky guy or woman that just thought they were better than everyone else. And this book talked about ego, and they said EGO is anytime we edge God out. And I love that. You know, and when people start asking me to speak at different presentations, whether it was for football, for sports, for businesses, whatever it was, my ego got in the way a lot. It wasn't the ego of I thought I was better than anyone else. It was me edging God out. And it was, hey, I don't have that story. I don't have this background. Coaching high school football, I'm not a college or a professional coach. And I was edging God out. Now, for your listeners, for me, and I don't want to be, as I mentioned earlier, I wear my heart on my sleeve. My faith means everything to me. But for the people that believe in other religions or energies or the universe, whatever it is. I think most of us believe that we're not the be all and end all, that there's something greater than us. There's a power out there, whatever we call him or her or the universe. And I think we've got to stop edging whatever that God source is out. You know, if we've been given the opportunity to serve someone, let's do that. Now, when I speak at the clinic this coming February up in LA, I don't know, because it's one of those clinics where there's going to be dozens of speakers and a lot going on at the same time. So I might have a room full of 100 people. I might have 10 people. But what helps me is if I speak to a room of 100 people or 1,000 people, I may still only connect with one, and then that's a very successful presentation. If I'm in a room with just 10, it might be 2 people I connect with. But what I try to do every day, and I don't succeed every day, but what I try to do every day, my prayer and my goal is to be a blessing to at least one person, to intentionally go out of my way and to make someone's life better.
No, I love that answer, Coach. And why I love that is, for many years on my journey, I was very much trapped in the ego. And it was only when I left teaching, coaching in a traditional sense, where I was sort of stripped away all the accolades, all the titles, where I was really forced to be with myself. And I resisted, being a man of faith. And again, I have a mother that is very active in the church, that taught Sunday school, and I resisted it. And I have found that, and I'm on my own spiritual journey, that as I have become open to understanding it's not about me, it's about others, it's about serving the hearts of others, that there has been this sense of peace that has come over. And it's truly given me this sense of trust that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And it's truly about, for me, I often say, like, serving the hearts of others. And it's been, I don't know, it's just been the most healing, transformative journey for me in the last 2 years.
I love that. And I think for me, two of the most powerful statements that I can repeat to myself, and I believe this to my core, is I know who I am, and more importantly, I know whose I am. I know why I'm here. I know, I have no doubt in my mind why I'm here. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure when I know this is going live right now, but I'm not sure when you're going to put it out there on other platforms. But one of the things when I talk about the power of why, and this is two-way coaching, group of men and women, one of the first slides I share, one of the first things I say is there is not a greater coach out there than me. And I believe that to my core. And it's funny because when I'm saying that, I can see people's faces, and some of them just fold their arms like, all right, who's this arrogant guy? Who does he think he is? And others are intrigued, like, all right, where's this going? And I followed up by saying, please understand, when I say there's not a greater coach out there than me. I'm not saying I'm the greatest, but no one's greater than me. And I tell them why. It's because of how I define success. I don't define it by wins and losses. I don't define it by championships won, money earned, accolades achieved. My number one goal for coaching is to bless and empower as many people as I can. And I know for a fact, because I've been blessed to have young men and young women come back to me a year after or 10 years later and say, I needed you in my life at that time. I was suicidal, or I got a young woman pregnant, and this is how I dealt with it, or whatever challenge was going on. And how do you define success with that? If you can save one life, how can you beat that?
I love that, Coach. So, Coach, I want to be respectful of your time and energy. What can we do to help and support you and what you're growing and the messages you're sharing?
Oh, I love that question. Love that question. Be you. Truly. Well, once again, I don't know your audience. I don't know if there's going to be one person listening live right now, or 10 or whatever. If someone can listen to this and walk away and say, you know what, I'm going to have that tough conversation with my parents and tell them I don't want to go to law school. That's not what excites me. Or I do want to go to law school, whatever it is. Or the husband and wife that have been struggling because of whatever preconceived expectations they had going into their marriage. To help me, really be yourself. Live your greatest life. And man, 7.7 billion people in this world, or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Imagine if, gosh, even 10% of us, but imagine if more people lived their authentic lives. I think we would have so fewer wars, truly, and hate speech, and people attacking each other physically or verbally. And just, I think when you are filled, and this is my greatest prayer for my own children, to have them love who they are, to be happy in their own skin. And I think when you're happy in your own skin, other things don't shock you or faze you. You know, you might disagree with someone's political stand. You might disagree with the way they're living their lives. You may disagree with a lot of things, but it's not going to shake you because you know who you are to the core. And you can know who you are and love who you are and disagree with someone else, but still love them. And I think it's a powerful thing.
Again, Coach, I love the message. I love the passion at which you're sharing. So, Coach, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for the man you are, you know, the great husband, the great dad, the great teacher, the great coach, the great mentor, but more importantly, the great human being you are. The one thing that I've really taken away from this conversation is just that simple reminder on the power of living from top down, inside out.
Yeah.
And that when you can form that habit and truly learn it, again, it's a lifelong process, that's where the beauty of life really happens. And I just want to thank you for reminding me for that simple idea. So thank you so much, Coach.
You're that truly means a lot. You're amazing. It's humbling to me to have you want to take time to have me on your show and just so we can learn from each other. I thank you, JT.
Yeah, no worries. So, folks, Coach dropped so many valuable nuggets of wisdom that will not only help you succeed in sports, health, but more importantly, the game of life. But as I often remind you in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the consistent and focused application, rep in, rep out, that actually creates great results. So my challenge to you is to apply one of those valuable nuggets of wisdom into your life today so you can reach your next level of greatness. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I look forward to chatting with you next time in the huddle.